Hey there. So I wanted to talk to you really quick about relationships. I was actually getting ready to call it a night, but I just felt the Lord like really pressing it on me to come on and share with you something really quick and powerful and impactful about relationships. And I was going to call it a night, but I'm like, you know what? Someone needs to hear this, probably a lot of people. So, what I wanted to share with you specifically about relationships, and I want you to listen really closely because we like as a creation, as a human creation, we base everything that we know and do off of relationships. Whether that's relationships with our parents, relationships with our friends, relationships with romantic partners, our relationship with God, right? And just like if you don't have a certain parent in the home, like relationship off of one parent, like just everything is based off of relationships. Everything, and I want you to really focus on this, everything that you do is stemmed from a relationship in your life. God knows this, Jesus knows this, and the enemy knows this. And I'm going somewhere with this. The reason I want to talk about relationships is because there are some relationships that are cultivated in your life by God, and there are some relationships in your life that are cultivated in your life by the enemy. Meaning that some relationships, and I know it sounds so harsh on the ears to hear, but some relationships are literally cultivated by the enemy to drag your soul to the depths of hell, which means that some relationships are literally operating in your life right now to, sorry, my camera's shaking, to bring you further and further and further outside of the will of God, right? But then there are some relationships that are sent into your life by God to bring you further into the will of God, further into the promises of God. And I really want to talk to you about relationships today because I want you to evaluate the relationships that you have in your life. And this includes family. I'm not just talking about romantic relationships. I'm not just talking about friendships or associates or best friends, but this includes family as well. I want you to really evaluate the relationships that you have in your life and ask yourself certain questions like, is this relationship beneficial to me when it comes to my godly assignment, when it comes to your godly calling, right? When it comes to the will of God for your life? Is it pulling you more into the will of God? Is it cultivating your character to be more Christ-like, or is it pulling you more outside of the will of God? I really want you to think about this because God has an amazing assignment for your life, right? And a lot of you, the question comes, okay, I don't know what the assignment is for my life. I want to invite you to join the Promised Land mentorship below. But if you aren't ready to do that right now, it's completely okay. But typically the assignment for your life, it all leads back to you advancing God's kingdom on earth in some way, shape, or form. It all leads back to you advancing God's kingdom on earth in some way, shape, or form. And that doesn't mean that you have to directly go into ministry for a church, right? You could do that on a 9-to-5 job. There's many different ways where you can advance God's kingdom on earth. But it really just goes back to the relationships in your life. Is it helping you operate in your godly assignment, or is it pulling you further outside of the will of God? I really want you to think about this because what the enemy will do is send people into your life to influence you to move outside of the will of God, right? So that you don't receive the promises of God. And because of that, God's kingdom is not advancing on the earth. I really want you to think about this because God has just been speaking to me so heavily about relationships, right? So that you're not distracted by the people that the enemy may have operating in your life, or the relationships that the enemy may have cultivated in your life, specifically to pull you outside of the will of God, to delay the promises of God in your life. I really want you to assess your circle. Again, this is not just like romantic relationships, but this is like friends and this is family members, and determine, are these people supposed to be in your life for this season? It doesn't mean that you can't go back and have relationships with these people in another season of your life, or it doesn't mean that they weren't supposed to be in your life in a season in the past. but are they meant to be in your life for this season to help get you to your next level of glory in the Lord, right? Because it's God's will, it's the Lord's will for you to go from glory to glory, from higher calling to higher calling, right? And if the people in your life, if they aren't on the next level of higher calling where God wants to take you, then they cannot come with you, right? They cannot come with you to that next level of glory, right? And I know, because I was saying earlier when I first started this video, that we base everything off of relationships, right? Everything that we do, we were designed to live in and thrive in relationships, right? But God created us that way so that we can desire him first, so that we can desire a relationship with him first. And I want to invite you to do that. I want to encourage you to do that, to have a relationship with him first, because once you have a relationship with him first, then you learn how to truly cultivate and have relationships with other people that are modeled after your relationship with him. I want you to really think about this, right? And begin to assess the relationships in your life and determine which of these relationships align with God's will for my life. I really want you to think about this.